All right. For those of you who don't know me, Jay Pugh. Um, Most of you are a lot more experienced than I am. I've been turning bowls for June will be 3 years, but I've turned, I guess, close to 300 bowls. So I don't know. I'm trying. Um, I used to do some reproductions of architectural stuff, a little bit of furniture stuff. Never turned a bowl. It was all like work, it was not for fun. And so I got away from all that, did cat and work my whole life. And I finally was like, I'm retired. I want to get on the lathe and play. And I turned bowls for just a couple months and I realized I had all these savings. I had huge amounts, to do a larger bowl. And I was like, how many bowls were laying on the floor? So looked at the different systems, and the one way seemed to be something simple enough I could do. And it's worked really well for me. I bought like two cutters. Actually, my mother-in-law got them for me, but it was my birthday, so I can't. So she wanted a bow out of it. So did that, and it wasn't long, and I got the other two cutters, and I don't know. I probably cored, I don't know, 200, 250 bowls. Some of them cracked, some of them I gave the cores away. Steve has gotten some, other turners, Terry. A bunch of them are littered up in the shop. Um, so, I mean, to me, this is the way to go. If you want to turn a lot of bowls, if you want to do some art markets or anything like that, it's not cheap, but once you're set up, you're set up, you have it. Um, I did it for about a year, maybe not quite, and I heard about the Hunter Core Pros, and I was like, okay, $200, right? Well, if you do the gym, um, is it Sprague or whatever up in Canada? Somebody knows who he is. It's Inlay Gym, all caps, Inlay Gym, all one word. That will get you 10% off of anything through Hunter, any tools, but the Core Pros, they're $200. Last I looked, they may have went up. Everything else is, but it's a lot. So I've got four now, so that's $800. But once you put the tips on, then all you have to do is buy the carbide, and they last a long time. You need to flip them once, but I probably get 40 or 50 bowls out of one one tip. So I think I bought one extra cutter since I've been doing this. But the other thing is when you get like a little bit of a wider kerf. It's not much, but it's enough that, um, especially with oak, I've had um, I've had this one to get trapped in there. The turning starts to dry and distort, and it happens less with this. It happens most with oak, which I don't turn much oak. But if you like oak, it's you don't want to go use the bathroom or have a coffee break halfway through pouring one because it'll get stuck. It will get stuck in there and it won't be fun. I had one that I was like halfway. There's no way I could get it out, and I finally worried this out, and then I had to go back and core the rest of it, with a gouge and get the piece out, and you just don't want to do that. This was some gum from my daughter's workmate. He wanted to, I don't usually turn much gum, um, but he wanted some bowls done from it. And I was like, hey, perfect chance to do something with it. And as Ray told you a while back, one of the best things to do is take and put these in a plastic bag. And I also take a lot of times and wrap them with the stretch wrap. Or if I turn the outside and I can't get to the inside right, right at that time, the stretch wrap works really well. Helps keep it together. Um, I have the same lathe at home, and so you might have to do things a little bit different. But how many of you had cored before or have a coring system? A couple of you, yeah. So a lot of times I'll take a bowl and I'll go ahead and finish the exterior. I like to turn most of my bowls about half dry. This one's a little wetter. Um, it's a really too wet to sand. I turned this earlier today and just to get the bowl shape. But a lot of times if it's a little drier, I'll go ahead and I'll finish the outside. I mean, I'll have it finished sanded, everything else, and then I'll core it thin. I'll do 3/8 or something, and then go back in and clean it up. And oftentimes when you go back inside, it doesn't. This is not always going to match the outside of your bowl. So I guess if you keep coring it from the same cores and you like that shape, it will. But typically I don't do that. So then I can just go right back in and make the inside of the bowl the thickness I want and finish it, put it around, take the tenon off. And what I usually do is I have a big storage container that fits in front of the lathe. And so I take, when it catches a lot of the shavings, and when I do a core, I drop it in there and I'll be like a kitty cat, cover it up. And if you do that, generally it won't crack. And you can come back days or a week, or sometimes I'll have dozens of them in there. And, I'm trying to get bigger bowls out or whatever, and just pull those up out of the sawdust and um, go ahead and I like to do a tenon on the rim if I can. Now I'll do live edge too. And I did so many live edge that a lot of times if you've done these, you know that you have to get this cutter a long ways into it before this will hold. But if you take um, I don't know, what do you call these? Just a lever screw. If you take one of these and drill you a 3/8 or whatever size you need for a 3/8 tap and tap this, and then it keeps it from, you can actually put it on a live edge and have support. Does that make sense? So that the thing ain't damp. Plus, it's nice even here, so I don't have to, pay any attention to it. I can just snug it and holds it in place. And Glenn Lucas, I saw him do that. And sometimes he'll even take, when he rough turns a bowl, he'll go in and clean it up a little bit better and use this as a tool rest. So he didn't have to pour everything out of the way into a tool rest. I don't really do that, but it's something to think about. I'm trying to think what else I haven't said. No, what I do, I have different chucks. Some of them have base that is not a part of the chuck, the add-on base, some of them, so they're not all the same depth. So what I do is I like to measure right off of here and figure out where I want my bottom to be roughed out. And so I'm going to let this dry, because if you've done gum, it's really going to twist up. Now you have to think about it. If you want 10%, like 15-inch bowl, 1.5 inch, 10-inch, 1 inch thickness, if you're going to let it totally dry, you really don't need that in the bottom. You can go a little bit, you can cheat the bottom a little bit if you're brave. And plus it should dry faster, right? So, I mean, I have to my bottom, I have like 6.5. I forget what I've decided here. Probably like maybe 7.5, a little less. And all I'll do is I'll come over on the edge of this cutter, because I screw up easily. So if I put that on 7.5 on the edge of that cutter, it gives me like 14 3/4. I don't think that's what it did. I don't know. Yeah, I got about 14 5/8. So I can measure right off of here, right to this center of this post. And that'll tell me where I'm going to be on the bottom. And a lot of times all I do is I just take one of these and I hold it up here, and I'm like, okay, that will give me the most, the best cut. Like I said, I mean, if you can make it simple, that's for me. And you just want to bring this up close, and like right here, you figure this is 13 inches, and I've got a fat inch, maybe 1.1/8. So hopefully that'll be enough thickness that when this thing goes oblong, when it dries, I'll still be able to get a bowl out of it. So,
How many do you tend to core out? Like on something that side, would you normally make 2 corings or just one?
Yeah, I'll do at least two. I usually don't bother a whole lot with the smallest, but I found that I can, I have a shelf, I keep this under the shelf. I have a 4x4 over here, and I have these so that these are graduated into a hole in the 4x4. I got tight. And this goes right beside it into the 4x4. So it'd be four of them. And so, I can pour them right out. So I could put this together in just a few seconds, and I can core out quicker than I can hollow it, just with a gouge. So, and a lot of times I'll take and I'll save all my smallest ones, and they'll only be like 5-inch bowls, and I'll have them for 6 months. And then like before Christmas or maybe for gifts or something else, I'll just do a bunch of those. I'll take those and I'll do all the outsides, then I'll do all the insides. I just batch them, and you can do a dozen in a day easy if you do that. So,
So there's a formula for setting up
well,
the jig in the bottom?
there's different, what I do, and this is on a Powermatic, so it's easy. But I just look, Chuck, I just look at where I want my bottom to be, and I add that. I put the edge of my cutter right here because that's where it's going to be, and I'll just put it right here, and I'll measure to the center.
Is that one you got your finger on? That's not on the center of the bowl
It doesn't matter.
though? Oh,
It's still where it's going to swing into it. It's close enough. I mean, it's not, it's going to be a rough turning. And so if I come back underneath here and whatever I had, I haven't messed one up yet, but being that I'm up here, I probably will, right? I'll probably, so, you got to screw up sometimes. So probably so, but I can just take and look right here to my center. And so I know when this gets around here, that's where it'll be.
Because I was thinking more of setting that thing this way.
But see, what I do is I sit my depth away. Okay, I do that first, and just have this loosely. Now these are Glenn Lucas too. These come with bolts here. He's got these little quickie deals. He even puts like sheet metal over top because these things get filled with shavings. I don't really see where it's worthwhile. Like I don't even leave the we'll get it here somewhere. Here it is. I leave this one loose. I don't even bother. But I mean, it's easier than grabbing a wrench, I guess. I don't know. Fancy. I like to spend money. But I mean, you can leave it, but you have to have it just right. And really, you need to take the tailstock off so you can slide it, or else you can't get it far enough. And I don't know. Seems like a good idea.
How exactly? Just eyeballing it, or you just,
Okay, well, what I do, the first thing I do is, like I said, I figure out where I want my bottom. If it's going to be a finished bowl, all I need is a 1/2 inch or less, right? So I figure out, I just eyeball it here, and I say, okay, there's where I want the bottom of this to be. And like I said, if you can figure in your inch or so, your 10%, you really don't need the 10% in the bottom. And a lot of times when I do turn the tenons, I turn the tenon a hair big. That way I can always clean up the tenon and the tenons are the way to go. When I first started doing this, I had a Nova chuck, and I would throw a few poles. I switched to the Vic Mart. I'm not knocking the Nova. They're great for the money. A lot of people use them. Good chucks. I switched to the Vic Mart. I hardly ever lose a tenon. If I'm doing something spalted and I don't have that much strength in the tenon, before I mount it up, I'll take thin CA glue, and I just roll it. It'll be over here. Then I just roll it around. It's saturated with CA glue, and go have a drink or something. And I almost let it soak in rather than hit it with accelerant. But I mean, it'd probably be fine to hit with accelerant. But it really makes a difference on keeping that tenon on there. But I like to go ahead and put a tenon here, and you'll see why. Because when I take this plug out, like you see, sometimes people take, make a bunch of cores. Well, then that's a pain to go back and remount it. And what I'll do is I'll core this out, I'll grab it with this tenon. I'll make a tenon on the bottom. I'll change the shape of the bowl to whatever I want. Sometimes I'll finish that bowl, not tonight, but, I'll take and I'll do that, and then I can flip it back around and haul it out again. And, to me, it's so much easier. I don't have to, worry if I have enough bottom to be able to do it. Just makes it really easy. So the other thing is when you run these hunter tips, I can, if everything's balanced well and the wood wants to do it, I can turn this about 650 RPM, which is about double what you turn with I don't know, what do you turn yours at? No, maybe 400 at most. And this will make nice shape. These are dull. I went to put new ones on. I was like, I only have one new one. I didn't, but you can run your fingernail on them and tell they're not. Now I will occasionally do I've even done like dry pecan, as hard as that is. And it's just, you got to make more cuts and clean it out but it'll work. I mean, if you, I looked into a whole lot of cherry burl lately. And, you hate to just throw away all that cherry burl. So, I've got all these nested sets of cherry burl that maybe spring will be good at some of the shows. I like to use, I don't know what to do with it. I like to use that's right in front of me. I like to use tail support whenever I can. And I don't, it's going to be close in it. I'm probably going to get cutting before I can put that on and do it. They have a nice handle that comes with this, but a lot like these Trent Bosch handles anyway. And it gives me the advantage that I can and I put the D-way knobs. When I first tried one of these just for gouges, I thought, man, that's a big awkward knob, but I have these on like half my tools. I can sharpen them easier. It's better for me. I can put this on here and I'm ready to go. Take it off. When I get done, I'll put a gouge back in it. And there's nothing wrong with a D-way, but I don't know, I'm impatient. So anything I do to make things run smoother, I do. So you saw it didn't take long to set that up. And it'd been even quicker at home. And this thing, well, typically where this step is how far you go. I've noticed, depending on the wood, when you start running this in, that and I like to put my hand up here just to help dampen it. And usually I put a glove on, but I've noticed that you can tell when it starts getting vibration. And when you start feeling it vibrate, like I said, it depends on the wood. Stop, slide this in. You'll see me doing it in a minute. Real simple. Yeah.
Fortunately, I put it back in the vise.
So you beat on with a 2-pound hammer like I did? That was a piece of oak. Yeah. I don't tear much oak. I don't tear much, but that was a nice piece of oak, and the lady wanted a piece of oak, so I tried it.
You're gonna go in. You don't keep going in and out, in and out, in and out.
Well, you have to pull the shavings out,
Okay.
but
That's
it's
fine.
not that big of a deal.
Because you said you leave it in there.
Well, you'll
slide
have
it
to,
out.
you have to take this support right here. Let me hold one up. I got them all in different bags. Let's see. So you have a different support with each knife that matches the curve of the knife.
Okay.
And once you get an initial cut in here, then you have to start sliding this in for support. And you can tell, like I said, when this thing will start to chatter a little bit, and you'll know that you need to run this in. Depends on the wood, depends on everything else. But the nice thing about this is, if this was a live edge, right? So, you have to go in a long ways before this thing will engage in that curve. So that's where this comes into play. I'm not the only one who does this, but this is, if you have one of these, this is a 10, 15-minute job just by a matched tap and drill bit. And it doesn't have to be all that perfect. Just and get a short levered screw like this if you do it, so that it'll turn, so it won't hit, and kind of look at where you just kind of guesstimate. It'll be good. But yeah, it's not, like I said, if I can do it, it's not that complicated. So, but it will make savings. Y'all making my mouth dry. All right, and just for safety, what I usually do is I usually turn the speed back down. I mean, good safety practice. And but I'll get it turning pretty good here. Running pretty true. Like that's like, well, I turned down to 650. All right, that's like 650. So I rest my hands on here to be able to give a little support and just ease it into it. And you can see, I mean, this cuts better than, like I said, this is a dull, fairly dull cutter. Cherry cut's really pretty. Apple and all that. Big old tenons come out. So you can pull that out, so clean it off. If it's drier, it'll really stick. But not much effort. But see, like here, and I know it's just a dead center, and I just put a little bit on it. And I also like that because when I get down to the bottom, I don't have to worry about that coming loose, dropping down, rattling around. It'll stay. All right, see, I'm getting, hear the vibration right there. I can kind of feel it, like that's kind of to the point where this doesn't have much support under it. So that's a nice thing about all this like this. Usually I got a turnout here, so I might pick this up a little bit. Let me just sit over here. But yeah, it makes a lot of mess. Now, see, I'm in here for support. Like I said, usually I don't have to pull this off. And you also want to make sure that you don't get shavings down in there. You can usually get used to hearing it like kind of click in, like it screw hits. So you're here. Now, this no longer has to be, you just leave this loose, the flap, right? And, yeah.
Are you cutting right on center line?
Am I cutting on center line?
Above center? Or-
Oh, I'm sorry. It took me a second. Yeah, you don't want to be below. You can be, this is probably no more than a 30-second above, if at all. And, when you set these up, and if you have unless you get something other than what I got, if you have a Powermatic, these are not long enough. You have to go out and buy longer bolts.
That floats in.
Well, I do too, but it's still, I don't know. That's just the way they came. I mean, I guess maybe this base, I don't know. I got it from Highland Hardware, and that's the way it came. But I mean, I just go get longer bolts. But of course, once you set that up, you set this all up, to a drive center, and put it center or just a smidgen higher, and you never had to fold it again. It doesn't come loose. So
Can you back it out just again, just for, so you can see the picture, so everybody can see where center line is? Okay. Well,
Just get your tape measure and you can measure off the
Well,
base.
well,
Yeah.
what I did is I actually, without anything else on the lathe, I put a spur center in.
Okay.
And then I set these up, I adjusted these. You know, I adjusted this to hit right, and then I adjusted this one to just be right underneath that where it didn't pick it up. So, you know, like once you set that up, you never have to do it again. Of course, when I changed cutters to the Core Pros, I had to do it again, I guess. I can't remember, but I'm sure I did. I don't know if I vent mine or if they're all like this, but when I tighten this down, it comes to me just a little bit, but like I said, and
Do you
I
ever-
just want to make sure this turns. Huh?
do you ever have to wax the board just so it slides in a little bit better?
I mean, a lot of times this is wet and waxing always makes everything work better. I don't do as much as I should. Sometimes these shavings will come out so well and so curled up that when you go to engage this cutter, it doesn't want to engage. And you just back this wheel, back it around a little bit and actually start it in there against the wood because it's just shavings packed in there. I don't think I have that going on right now, but
Where'd you get the center?
this,
Yes.
Amazon. Well, I mean, it's just a dead center and I just have two extensions because I want to be able to reach in. But I mean, you know, you don't really have room for a live center. And so, I mean, you know, and like I said, you know,
There are some small ones.
I mean,
That
it works fine. I don't put that much on it. It's not that long. Like I said, I've done a bunch of them with it. And actually, for a long time, I only had one extension. And I had, sometimes I wished I had one more. I couldn't use it at first, so I bought one more. Luckily, the first one is small enough to go over top of this arm. You know, this one doesn't have to be, but if you buy this one first, you're gonna have problems. So, yeah, you want the little one. So, we can go more. All right, all I gotta do this time. And that is nice about the Lucas deal, to slide it in. Like I said, I don't worry if it's hitting the bottom or not, as long as it'll turn, it'll be fine. On some woods, if they're really hard and dry, at 650, it wants to, it's just not happy. It's just not cutting well. And usually if you just dial it down a little bit, you'll find a happy spot. But typically I try to run it at 650 or as close as I can get to that. But sometimes you gotta take it down maybe 450 or something. Now, usually when your handle gets to be back uh, perpendicular, is you're gonna come close. I mean, you see it move a little bit. I don't have much. Sometimes I'll go ahead and I'll cut it down now, and I probably don't. I probably wouldn't at home, but I'll go ahead and run it in a little bit more. Lazy. You can see how it's starting to hit, and that's something else you can do. That's just where the bowl's distorting. And so I've had them where you actually had to start it and start ramping it up, maybe that tut, 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 tut. Which I mean, I'm gonna finish coring it, you know. So anyway, Only about 450. Usually can hear it when it comes loose. There you go. See, if I didn't have the tail center on there, see, now I can just pull this off. Well, if you catch, you can have it, right? So, I mean, that's the great thing is you have a nice core. I mean, if you went to all the trouble to get the wood, now how long would it take you to make a nice bow out of that? I mean, uh, you know, except for the price, it's great, you know? And I mean, if you don't do a lot of big bowls or whatever else, then it's probably not for you. And you need to have, I mean, I've stopped the 2 horsepower lathe more than once. Had it, you know, like knock off and reset when I first started doing it and I was a little heavier handed. I mean, if I had 3 horsepower, I'd go for it. Maybe one day my wife will buy me what's that one? American Beauty. What is it? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I love my Powermatic, but that's a lot.
Yeah, I've seen nested bowls that come, you know, the quarter of an inch thick and they're just nested and nested and nested.
Yeah.
How thin can you get with that? To get a second.
If the outside of that bowl was finished, and I was going to go ahead and finish the bowl tonight, I mean, I would cut it like 3/8 of an inch, maybe a little bit less. And so you lose maybe, I don't know, 5/16 with this. So if your profile is close, which you'll see this one gets thicker as it goes in. Excuse me, but I mean, yeah, you can get 4 or 5, no problem. I mean, I didn't start with as big as this lathe will hold. I mean, it's only what like a 13-inch, 12, I don't forget what it is now. So I mean, sometimes I'll do a 19-inch bowl, and so you can get quite a few out. Where's the first piece at?
Here. Somebody stole it already?
Yeah.
Now, let's go put it back on the lathe. But there's a wood cut or something.
I've got that. That's like grand.
Oh, really?
This is one.
I mean, I feel really safe with this one. One way. Well, I looked at the McNaughton and I didn't know if I was able to, which I mean, I'd only been turning 6 months, so I was like, I watched what's his name, that Mahoney. I watched him do one, and I was like, I ain't ready for all that. I mean, you know, which I wouldn't mind trying one, but this thing's been great. I mean, like I said, I've a lot of bowls. Do you?
Stiff arming it to keep it out of the bowl.
So, let's see. I have a place for everything at home, other than the floor. But of course, at home, I'll just sit mine right here on my shelf. Let's go get some of this. So I can take. At that new lathe feel. What else nice about these handles? Oh well, may never see it again. Is it protect your edge? Yeah. See, this is gonna be in my way. Who's strong? Where's Terry at? Yeah. There's a pen in there. Lordy,
Take that one, okay.
put it in your pocket.
I got the heavy part.
There you go.
Slide this thing back a little
Right.
too.
Huh?
Slide this
That's
thing
fine.
Ready?
We'll just, yeah, I was going, I thought you had it.
No, I said, but
Like I said, I got the swing out or whatever. But, huh? No, put it in your pocket. We're gonna put that back on. Lord. I mean, so when I'm doing these, I mean, all I'll do right here, I won't turn too fast. I don't want to scare nobody too bad. But, so there's a next bowl, right? Let's see, I don't know if I got enough. And of course, I have one set for each chuck size. Let me see. Was that big enough for that? That's about right. All right. I'd rather be lucky than good. And I do my tenons. I can do this, I'll cut myself. I just took a sorbet, scraper and, I made it so that that's my angle. Like if I'm perpendicular to the lathe here, that's my, I don't know how many degrees, 6, 10, whatever it is. So I can I can go really easily and get a good tenon. And of course, you want to put this in on an angle. So then I can line this up well because I can see where perpendicular is. So that's how easily I can make a nice tenon. Real nice, sharp, clean tenon. And as you know, this tenon can be perpendicular or it can be a little open. It can't be this way. You won't get a good contact, right? With your chuck. So when I run this in, when I go in, all I have to do is look at this angle and make sure it's perpendicular or just a few degrees, and I'll get a nice bite with my chuck. Dovetail. I get a nice dovetail. Nice clean dovetail. I use this just easy. I like easy. So we have to build a table or something. Let's see. Let's see, with all this, see how nice it was to have the tenon on here. On the way to fly. Now I'll take that and I'll coat it with anchor seal or something. I mean, I like anchor seal, but something. Um, I'll put it back in the bag tonight, but it won't take much for that to crack. I don't use any washers. I don't use any set screws. I haven't had any come off. I sand in reverse on the outside. Maybe I'm just lucky. I don't know. When you have something this wet, you start turning it, you get about halfway through, check and make sure your tenon's still tight. You know, common sense, but
So on this side, you still have the tenon, that's great.
yeah. And so I can go ahead and core this again. Usually I just slide it right on up. Let's see. Right there, out of the way. All right. Make sure there's nothing in here. Like I said, it's easy when nobody's watching. You know. So I'll do the same thing. If I find a tape. You know, I can look right here again. And so I want to go 7 inches. I mean, it gives me a fat half for the bottom. So if I go 7 inches, and then I found something I can cut with. Now, like I said, simple is good. I'll just look up here and see which cutter I think makes the most sense. That one does pretty good. Sometimes the one that gets the best angle won't have enough room away. It'll put this too close. You have to use a bigger size. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna go 7 inches off the edge of the cutter to the center. Gives me 12 inches exactly. So I will go 12 inches right here. Eyeball that to center my column. And then I'll look up here and say I can set my whatever depth. And I'm gonna say that's good. So that gives me a bottom.
Something else you can do for setting up this, instead of using a tape measure,
Yeah,
after you do some of these,
yeah.
make setup blocks. You can slide it right in between the housing, the setup for your cutter, and your banjo, and you'll always get 3/4 of an inch thick, you know, you use the same chuck.
Well, if that's what I was gonna say, and I use different chucks, and sometimes I do different shapes. Sometimes I'll even have what would be a vase, and I can't hollow all of it, but I can still get a nice chunk out of it. And if it's pretty wood, I mean, because I have to hollow it anyway. So I mean, why not? So which one was on? That one, that's a small one. Alright.
So when you said you have 4 set of colors, you got 4 sets of diameters. Is that what you're saying? The different diameters, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, each
So-
one's slightly smaller.
Yeah. So you can
200
do-
bucks.
Huh? It's been a while. I don't know. Ask the boss. Something like that. And you get a guide, of course, with each one. But I mean, I don't I don't drink as much as I used to. I put the money here, so I mean I might have one bottle of double it, but good to have a rich mother-in-law, right?
She likes bowls.
She likes bowls. Gotta keep mama happy. All right. So usually I would put the tailstock because all I had to do is flip it back up, but we'll live dangerous, right? Y'all ain't afraid, are you? We got anybody play baseball? Let's see if you can. That's a sharper cutter. Much sharper. You can't be afraid all your life, right? Well, you see how long it's taken me. I mean, how long would it take you just to hollow it out? I mean, I know it's not that many passes, not that deep. But like I said, if it's a burrow or something, you know, nice figure. All right, here's what I was talking about earlier. It doesn't, there's enough shavings in there. It doesn't want to go against the wood. It just wants to pile up on top of here. So I just roll back, set it on here. Not much pressure. Y'all ready? Okay, now. Well, I mean, you have to think, how long would it have taken? I mean, you know, I mean, how much time do you have in this? And if it's a burrow and all of a sudden you have a dozen of these, and then like I said, Christmas gifts, whatever, you want to go turn a bunch of bowls and it has a tenon on it. So how long does it take to chuck this, put a bottom on, hollow it out and finish it? I mean, like I said, I'll batch these. I'll have a bunch of them. They'll be dry. I'll do the bottoms. I'll make them whatever like I want, and I'll flip them around and hollow them out, and I can burn through a bunch of them in a day.